Gino's first ride out in the open. A bit like his last ride, I haven't lunged him today. We're just heading straight out. But that's an educated gamble. We know he's pretty cool, so he's just staring at his friend off camera. By his friend, like he's stabled with another horse, and the other horse frets when he's away. So having your horse stand around before you ride off is such a big thing to encourage. Nobody likes a horse moving off when you get on. So even when I'm in a hurry, I really try to make a point of standing for a bit and make sure they're all good. We'll start off with a little bending like normal. Go for his hip. And there might be a bit of this today because we would assume he's out in an open paddock. He's going to be a bit more forward. And at some point, I'm going to go back to trying to keep everything on the left or everything on the right. But, so if he goes a little quick, I don't want to discourage him, it'll be a one rein stop or a turn or bend, anything I can to just encourage him to come back. And he hasn't been out here ever in his life, so we're going to give him a little bit of time to look around before we do anything too dramatic. It's very important, when you ride your horse out, that you're super relaxed, but in a position to deal with things. I don't ride him in a way that I'm ready and waiting and tense and all of that kind of stuff. But I'm making sure, if he spooks at things and has problems, my bum's tucked underneath me and I'm keeping my knees up into the swell. I'm keeping him, making sure I'm in a position if he suddenly jumps sideways, I can bend and flex and go with him. But I'm not tensed up and stiff and waiting for him to do something. Although obviously when you ride a young horse out, there's a lot more chance that's going to happen. Like I said, he's never been in this paddock, so it's all very fresh and new to him. So I talked last time, like we're doing a bit of arena education, and I'm teaching him this, that, and the other. And right now, it's a period where I like my horses to just get out and do easier stuff. And I'll still go through those other things, but it's a great time to get out and look at the world. And we'll still go through some vertical flexion and lateral flexion and one rein stops. But it gives him a little break from the schoolwork, I suppose. But he's still getting ridden, and he's still you know, we're still going to work on his education here and there. You know, when he decides to jog off on his own like he did, it's like, well, nobody asked you to jog off, so I'm just going to discourage that. I'm not going to stop him and back him up and tell him he did it wrong or he's, you know, not behaving. I'm just going to discourage it. Well, nobody asked you to go, so can you please stay here? And when he's had a little look around and been able to assess things a bit, then I'll go, okay, I'm going to go trotting and cantering, and, you know, nothing's really bothering him. I guess the thing is, I don't want to go cantering up to something on a young horse and find out at the last split second that they're terrified of it. And some horses will do that. They'll be just sort of cantering along in the zone and then suddenly see something and have a problem, you know, and jump, spook, you know, a big reaction. So I'm just trying to avoid that situation. Whereas he could walk up to it. He's got a little bit longer to assess it, a bit more time to assess it, and come through there nice and calm. And then later on we can run past it. And these are things, you know, if you think about them like preschoolers, you know, somebody's walked a horse through the paddock, and of course if he was here on his own, he'd race over there and talk to him. So he's got to get used to the fact that he doesn't get to make those decisions anymore. And we're obviously not having a big argument about it. But he's just like, well, why can't we go over there and talk to him? I was like, well, no, you got to stay here and you got to do what I ask you to do. But that's, you know, they're babies, that's what happens. He's got to get used to that fact. You've got to go when you're asked, stop when you're asked, and maybe go different places where you don't necessarily want to go. You'd rather go and do something else, but, you know, the rider's now calling the shots. So he's had a bit of a look around. I could have been sacking him down with my legs earlier. But again, you know, like I said, we don't want him scared of incidental movement. So obviously, as expected, nothing major. You know, he doesn't have any real problems with things around here. It's all pretty open, there's nothing too scary. So we'll go step him up. Oh, we'll go to the toilet first, and then we'll go step up into a jog. I know at this stage, even though he's a competition horse, and normally a competition horse I wouldn't let stop, he's a very green horse, so if he needs to stop and do his business, so you know, kind of let that go at this stage. He's certainly not going in any competitions in the foreseeable future. We've got to get him trained up, get him going good. All right, I'll jog along. And the loose rein is just, you know, it's important to let him know that, you know, I'm not doing anything when I pick him up here. It's like, hey, slow down, turn, good job, I'll leave you alone. In other words, when he's, you know, maintaining this speed and he's not doing anything too radical, I'll leave him alone. Okay, I would like you to turn, maybe slow down a touch, and loose rein again. And I believe that's really important to a young horse. You know, some people will ride with, you know, contact at this point. They'll be short, they'll be hanging on the reins. You know, I'm trying to let him know when he's good and when I need him to do something. G'day, thank you so much for watching. If you could like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications bell, that would be awesome. Thank you. Cheers. Alright, let's do some on the right side. Because all we want him to do at the moment is be patient, go nice and steady, hold his pace, you know, turn when he's asked. You know, his job's pretty simple at the moment. And when he stops, like he chose to stop then, I'm just quietly asking him to head off again. Oh, because nobody actually asked him to stop before. And it's obviously fun for him, you know, you're kind of it's like taking a kid out of the classroom and teaching them outside. You know, he's got more to look at. It's just a bit more fun. We can still do little educating things out here, but it doesn't feel like you're in a classroom being schooled. But I also don't run with the notion, like there's a few people will go, well, isn't that a good thing? Why shouldn't we do that all the time? I was like, yeah, I can educate him, but you know, I do like to compete on horses, and like my event of choice is reining. I don't know whether this guy will be a reiner. He shows some nice things, so he may end up going in that direction, or he might be just, you know, a super all-round ranch horse. I'm not sure. But he will have to work in an arena. Like, he will have to deal with that. So he needs over time to do work in that arena and work in that environment and just pay attention to me. And, you know, it's up to me to give him different things to work and think about. Because out here, the external environment kind of gives him a lot of things to look at and think about, as well as trying to keep his attention on me. So I like to get out in the paddocks and do some stuff. Also, he needs to learn to deal with arena life. And then my responsibility in the arena is to keep that entertaining enough that he's happy to stay there. When I was younger and I couldn't, you know, I didn't know how to train horses very well, and I didn't know what to teach them, I couldn't ride in the arena very long, because basically all I could do was pull them in a circle. Well, obviously they got pretty boring pretty fast. As my education level picked up, there's so many things, you know, that can happen in a circle about collection, and on your front end and on your back end, and are you giving me your nose, or are you just breaking at the wither too much? And, you know, just going in a circle became, you know, so much to think about and do. And that still becomes a bit of a quest for the horse, where he's got to figure out, you know, where the pressure isn't. And it looks like you're just going around in a circle, but there's a lot going on. It's like here, well, he's just jogging like he was before, but he's got to figure out how to flex and, you know, where to go where that pressure isn't. So again, he's done a nice job of that, so I'll step him up into a lope. He took off nice, just a tiny bit quick, so that's why I turned a little early. And it was just like when we're jogging, I don't care where he's going too much. I don't want him running too close to any hazards. So we're coming up to a tree. I want to make a decision long before we get there which side of that tree we're going to go. But if he chose to head straight down here, I wouldn't care less. Oh, now. Whoop. Bit slippery on the grass. And they're little decisions we made too, you know, where he, that last little lap, he said, well, you know, we could go down here. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. So, you know, he gets out of that area we were in, and he's going fast, and it's a little downhill, and he goes, yay, we're going somewhere, and it's a little downhill, I'm going to speed up. And it's like, you kind of, I need you to maintain that speed. That's your responsibility now, is like, we're going to have some set speeds, and I really want you to hold them. And, you know, because a horse is a prey animal, which basically means they run away from their problems. What I'm trying to really get into him at this point is take things easy. Go steady. So a lot of it's slow. I want him to flow. I don't want him to go forward without any major, arguments. But at the same time, I don't want him to think that going forward is the primary thing that we're working on. Go forward when you ask, but be cool, be happy, be relaxed. He's also maintaining his speed well because, he obviously doesn't have to run away from me. He's pretty cool about what I'm doing. The most that's going to cause him to speed up is he kind of going somewhere a little exciting. And his emotions take over. It's like, yeah, let's go down there. Oh, no. That's better. Very cool. I always like to ride out in the open too, because I don't want to feel that fence is ever doing the work for me. And not that has I don't think that's happened for many years now, where the fence has helped me out. I kind of know whether my horse is with me, whether they're steering or not. But I do see quite a few people that you kind of feel like, well, if there's no fence there, there's no telling where you're going to end up. But yeah, out here, of course, we've also given him more things to, to be drawn to. There's horses, there's places to go, there's things to do. And even though you want to do all that, because that's what horses do, you still have to listen to me here and there. So we're almost giving him more potential to mess things up, I suppose, in a way. But he's got to learn about his emotional control. And generally, unless they're really, really lazy horses, I spend a lot of time making sure everything's slow and steady. When in doubt, slow and steady, mate. When in doubt, slow and steady. And I'll put that into him for 2 months, or 6 months, or 12 months, depends on the horse. Oh. The easiest thing I ever found was making a horse go faster. Because again, like we were just saying before, you know, their instinct is to run away from things that bother them. So I'm trying to really encourage him to, you know, go slow, take your time, absorb things. Later on, of course, we will go fast. And I have no problem going fast. I actually, when I'm not riding these guys, I often ride a big motorcycle. And it's very, very fast. So speed doesn't bother me at all. But my bike doesn't get emotional, and horses will occasionally get emotional. So I still want their basic thing is to shut down. But when they're listening and they're happy and they trust me and everything's going great, we will certainly add speed, because for, you know, quite a lot of events we're going to need that speed. I think next time, if he's cantering along somewhere and he's nice and happy, I might even ask for a little bit of that flexion of the canter. Oh. And I kept my hand still, and he kind of stuck his nose out. He ran into that pressure. And that's why I always ask for that little bit after the stop where you're round and soft. So I want him soft going into the stop, during the stop, and after the stop. But I think after the stop's a big deal. You see a few people, especially if their horse stops well, you know, they're holding him collected, and I'm only going to do this once because I don't want him to start thinking about it. You know, people collect them up and go, or, you know, in the moment they stop, they throw that rein away. Well, the horse starts stopping and sticking his nose out, looking for where he can put his nose, where that slack suddenly got created. Whereas if he's stopping off my seat and voice, there's no need for me to do that. He's collected, or, you know, he should stay there during and after, and then I'll give back. And there's no pressure when he's listening. Like, and that's the other thing, if he does that correct, there's not an ounce of pressure on him. And you've obviously seen some stops that he's done that have been like that too, where he's just stopped, he stayed soft and hasn't moved. And if I sit down and said, whoa, and he didn't stop, well, then I would put pressure on him. And in his case, it'd be one rein. A few people ask him about using Boswells and Hackamores. Well, back in the day, like, there's a lot of one rein work. Because these things, if you lean into with two reins, can be quite a problem. Anyway, he's done a great job for the day. And I'm giving him a big rub, because he's doing the best he can with the human he got stuck with. Go out and give you a horse a rub for the same reason. Oh, another thing, just before I go, I like to hop off in the middle of my work area and call it a day then, and that could be the middle of the arena. In this case, it's sort of, we've been working around this paddock, but I've stopped in the middle. It's like that variation of don't run home on your horse. I'm not going to go over there where I saddled him up to get unsaddled. I'm not going to keep going back to the same spot. He's worked around here. I'm going to stop here, loosen the girth, and lead him back, because I don't want him gravitating one way or the other way. Anyway, very, very good. All right, catch you on the next one. G'day. Thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate it. This video of Gino's journey is meant to be more of a entertainment video, not educational, as in it's not a how-to video. All horses react and start differently. If you are going to attempt to start your own horse, you really need to enlist the help of a seasoned professional, or get a seasoned professional to do your horse for you and get them started. It's not an easy job, and it's not a job to be taken lightly, because this is your horse's introduction to the rest of his riding career, and it's really not to be messed with. So take it for what it is. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to share, and I really appreciate that you've taken the time to watch it and that you'll keep watching the channel. Thank you very much. Cheers.